Hi, folks. Welcome to our podcast series. Thank you for joining us. This is brought to you by our company, DigiHype Media. Please visit our website at www.digihypemedia.ca. Thanks for joining us. Hi, folks. Thanks for joining us. We're here today with Tony Rossel. Tony, thanks for joining us. Tony is the publisher for the magazine Neighbours of Hespeler Village. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Excellent. Tony's magazine comes out in the Hespeler area, and please, for those who live in the area, of course, you would have known this magazine, but we're going to get into a little bit more detail, and Tony, of course, will tell us all about it in a few minutes. Yep. Again, Tony, thanks for being here. I'm going to give a little bit of background, a little bit of color, sure. Tony, about yourself, and I want you to get into more detail, of course. But for everyone's knowledge, Tony serves the residents of Hespeler and the local businesses by publishing and producing a magazine that brings both sides together. His monthly magazine, Neighbours of Hespeler Village, is about the community, and the other half is about local businesses that support it.
Yeah.
Want to give back to their community.
Yeah.
Which is very, very important.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. Yeah. Each issue highlights a local resident or family, which is really, really interesting, and I think that's a great pivot point there, and we can talk a little bit about that in a second. Yep. And of course, they share their experiences in the Hespeler area, and all of the magazine's content that you produce is all very, very educational, very, very positive.
Yeah.
So it's a great magazine. So thank you.
Yeah.
Tony, again, maybe tell us a little bit more about your magazine and give us a deeper dive.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for that introduction, Clint. It's really good. So with Neighbours of Hespeler Village, like Clint said, it's a magazine. It's for the people, about the people, and it's actually also by the people. So when you crack it open, and it's a thinner publication, there's something in there for everyone. You get to meet the neighbors who live in the area. We've got a calendar of events for local activities, something for the kids. People submit pictures of their pets. And like everything, unless it's, God's green apples, nothing is free without somebody paying for it. And so, these magazines get delivered for free every month. But it's because of local businesses that care about the neighborhood. Sometimes they're part of the neighborhood. They're the ones that pay the bill, and so we're thankful for them.
That's excellent. Now, I've read your profile online. That's the beauty about social media. Yeah, we'll chat a little bit about that. And thank you for the intro to your magazine. Tony, I'm going to maybe chat quickly about your LinkedIn profile. And this was kind of interesting to me because it really speaks to what you do here with this magazine.
I'm a little embarrassed about it. Like the cover shot is amazing, but
that's fantastic.
I ended up sharing my story in the magazine. And, with our magazine, the organization I work for, Best Version Media, our tagline is bringing people together. And so, Neighbours of Hespeler Village is actually just one magazine of over 1,300 publications that go out across across North America every month. So, although I've been focusing mostly on Hespeler Village, we actually have other magazines in town, such as Neighbours of Clemens Mill, Neighbours of West Galt, which goes to Blair as well. And every magazine is unique to the neighborhood. Every magazine, is different from each other, but it just kind of helps bring people together and make people feel really good about the neighborhood that they live in. And so,
excellent. Yeah. Yeah, Tony, I'm living in Cambridge myself. I received one of your magazines.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic, and you get to see local neighbors that are in the magazine and featured in there.
Yeah.
And sort of a little bit about their history and stuff like that, and their families, and how they connect to businesses in your community, in our community.
Yeah.
So I think it's a fantastic publication. I think it's really, really needed.
Yeah. Well, and one of the great things is it doesn't really matter what your background is, you know, what your interests are, you know, orientation, race, none of that matters. Like, for instance, like Neighbours of West Galt or Neighbours of Hespeler Village, you know, that magazine will have stuff that's useful for every single resident who receives it because, you know, it's about their community. And so, yeah.
That's excellent. So tell me a little bit about your journey so far. You've been in the media business for a while. You've been with this particular organization for 5 years and developing it. And obviously you've clearly made an impact because now you're starring in it and featured in it, which is fantastic. I think that's great.
I personally can't wait for May to come out so that way the eyes can be off of me.
So I encourage everyone to have a look at the magazine. It's a fantastic publication. I myself look at it. My wife does as well because we live in the Galt area.
Yep.
So it is. You do have a published magazine there. But tell me a little bit about you've talked a little bit about businesses. How do residents connect? And why do residents connect to businesses locally because of this type of a magazine?
One of the amazing aspects of our magazine is, you know, how we connect the sponsors to the residents. So there's a few different ways they can get involved. They could take out an ad and it just kind of floats around. And, you know, like when you look at the magazine, it's not thick. So people, like, the feedback I get is people read us cover to cover because it's not a daunting task. So anywhere in the magazine is a great place for businesses to kind of like loiter, if you will. Okay. But then there is also other opportunities for them to kind of give back in a unique way. So we have certain spots that come out every single month, like obviously the feature family. We've got calendar of events, pet corners, kids corners. And so sometimes those spots can be sponsored every single month. So it's kind of like they're micro-targeting within an already micro-targeted magazine. And then the thing that really kind of sold me on the magazine when I was, exploring different options, once I got my marketing diploma, was our expert contributor program. So what that does is it gives, these, businesses an opportunity to join our expert panel, which, allows exclusivity in that, like we might have other realtors in the magazine, but only one can be kind of the expert contributor. And in addition to them being in our directory, up to 4 times a year, they can write an article about their specialty. And so it's not like, 4 reasons you're a stupid idiot if you don't use my services, but it's more like, hey, here's four things you can do to, improve your back pain. And so, you read about lunges, exercise balls, and you're like, oh, wow, this kind of helps. And, obviously, the chiropractor's information would be right there. Right. If you wanted to reach out. But, basically they're developing a relationship with the neighbors. They're giving back to the neighbors. Right.
Educating in some aspects, yeah.
Yeah, it's content marketing. Mm-hmm. But because there's zero strings attached, then, you as the reader, you're going to like them. They're going to make a good influence on you. And if you don't have somebody already, or if you're not happy with them, when it comes time to consider their services, they might be right near the top of the thing. So
that's excellent. So it's visibility and frequency and the extra value that they give in credibility. Yeah. No, absolutely. I love that. I love the fact, honestly, Tony, that you guys do very much a micro dive into the community.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the research. I mean, you touched on it a bit, but tell us a little bit how you go about the research, or how your team goes about the research in pulling all this stuff together, whether it be, pet-friendly pieces, family pieces, safety pieces, all these different pieces that go together to put your magazine together.
So are you asking like specifically for like, each magazine, how do we find our content, or?
Yeah, just sort of generically, sort of how you go about finding your content.
So, sometimes people will look at the magazine and say, oh, it's just another magazine. And, when I do a magazine tour with people, I'm able to kind of show them, the different nuances.
Right.
And, like I mentioned before, we have something in there for everybody in the family. We have stuff for the kids, for the pet lovers, the family. We've got a calendar of events. So that way, like if it's a young couple and they want to, they want to do stuff on the weekend, then, they've got a bunch of options. So we put a whole bunch of, information in there for everybody
a lot of
in the
information,
family.
yeah.
And so that would be, like I mentioned before, every magazine of our 1,300 magazines are different and unique, but those principles are the same.
Part of the whole.
Part of it, yeah. Because Best Version Media started in 2007. So
right.
We started with 6 magazines, delivered 43,000 copies. Fast forward to last year, we grew to 1,300 magazines.
Wow.
And we delivered over 46 million magazines.
So pretty incredible growth.
It's huge growth.
Yeah.
So, and especially considering it's print, right? Because, didn't they say print is dead? So
yeah. So, and that's very interesting you bring that up, because clearly it isn't, and clearly if the information in there is relevant to the users, then it's going to get used and it's going to get frequented, right? And people look forward to. I mean, I see it monthly, and I look forward to getting it because I'm kind of interested to see who's on there and who's inside of it.
Well, yeah, especially if it's like your neighbors. You're like, oh, hey, they lived right down the road from us, right? And you get to meet your neighbors, and then that way, if you see them again, you might not have ever met them, but now you kind of have a springboard and be like, hey, Bob, I saw that you did skydiving. I do skydiving too, right?
It's a conversation,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's that networking, that almost networking sort of facility it creates, right?
Well, yeah, like, although...
in a casual way.
Yeah, because networking usually implies business, but I feel like the whole Leave It to Beaver, communities seems like a thing of the past. And so this... kind of how and sometimes we're a community that just drives into the garage door comes down, and we never see our neighbors. And so this kind of helps break down those barriers and helps bring people together.
That's a great analogy too, because it really is true.
Yeah.
Even in the wintertime when the snow hits the ground, it's like, oh gosh, here we are. We're going to be coming out in April or May or something like that, right? See our neighbors.
Neighbors come out of hibernation.
We all come out of hibernation. So that's great. So from your experience, and I'm sure you've seen it before, are there any specific examples, and this may be sort of throwing it out there, but are there specific examples that you can tell us without you don't have to get into details, but about where you've seen businesses or local residents connect with specific businesses because of the magazine, just from your experience? Yeah,
so I've got a realtor in my magazine. She's an amazing lady. And she actually, ironically, started off. She was with Neighbours of Hespeler Village from the beginning,
right?
Except at the time, she wasn't a real estate agent. She was actually the photographer. So the first year or two of our magazine, it was her pictures that were gracing the cover. But for the past 4 years, she's been sponsoring the feature family article. And so every month when people are reading it, then, they're seeing her, and it's, not as much a buy for me. It's just like, Happy Halloween, Hespeler, or something like that. And I had, I was talking to another realtor, and they gave me the feedback over the phone, that, that realtor ended up selling one of her neighbor's houses, and she went up to the neighbor and said, "Oh, hey, I just saw that you were putting it up, and what made you choose Jillian?" And she said to me, the neighbor told her, she said, "Well, it's because Jillian sponsors the magazine. I see her every month and all that, and I love the magazine." And so it was.
You almost become familiar, right? I mean.
Oh yeah. Those spots are available right now in West Galt and Clements Mill, and so when I'm talking to people, I'm like, it's the most popular spot in the magazine. Everyone goes there, and so if you're loitering, if you will, if you're sponsoring the page, and we're saying, we would like to thank DigiHype Media for sponsoring this month's feature family, then everybody knows you and there's a positive association with it. So,
Right.
Yeah,
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And again, community driven, very much localized, and I think people love that. And I think we've gone from micro to macro, and that's confused a lot of people.
Yeah.
We've gotten away from it. I think the fact that you've gotten back into it and you sort of focus on that, I think people feel comfortable. And again, it's kind of like your real estate agent and that lady going with that realtor that was in your book, just saying hello, happy, happy holidays, whatever, positive vibes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And just giving generic information that could be helpful to someone.
Yeah, exactly.
And that makes a huge difference, right? I think for potential
100% does, yeah.
No, I totally agree. So tell me, so obviously the advertising field is a very, very diverse field. As you
yes, as you and I both know that.
For sure. So tell me how you stay, you and your magazine, publisher, the magazine Neighbours of Hespeler Village, how do you stay diverse? How do you stay relevant? What's important to you in your publication?
Well, I think, continuing to serve the residents that receive our magazine, that's always the most important thing. Like yourself, like we ended up during the pandemic, we started complementing our print with digital, like with Google, Facebook, and all of that. And we even started a BVM sports website. If you go to bvmsports.com, it will find out whatever your location is, and it'll show you not only professional sports like NHL, NBA, but it will also show you local content as well. So like we just wrote an article about the Cambridge Centaurs, or actually not even we did, but one of our residents and readers ended up writing an article, and we put it in, at least two of our magazines just to share that. But then on our website, bvmsports.com, if it sees you're from Cambridge, then you'll see that story pop up, as well as other stuff like,
in your market.
In your market. And so we cover everything from Pee-wee to pro. And so businesses have the opportunity to sponsor those pages online. Oh, wow, that's great. And we got into SEO. So the one convenient thing for us is we can, I can literally be a one-stop shop for people. Right. I know, sometimes businesses are very well established, and, I know there's stuff that you guys can do, billboards and, tons of stuff. Right. But, there's sometimes, people who are just kind of new to everything. And so it's just and
I think also, like we talked about multiple times before, I think because you can, sort of go to a local level, I think it's important for a small business to understand that, and for, and for residents of the area to embrace that. I mean, they love that, right? So I think there's a huge niche market there, and you guys have obviously seen it, and it's worked well for you. So congrats.
Thanks.
That's awesome.
Thanks, Clint.
So quick question for you. You came in to this industry, this specific as a publisher for this magazine. You came into this about 5 years ago.
Yep.
Right?
April 2019.
April 2019. Now, as I recall, March 2020, we had a pandemic hit us. That was about 4 years ago, just over 4 years ago now. How did that change things for you, your magazine, and sort of the landscape?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, the company I work for, Best Version Media, has been really fantastic. So, with my job, it's just 100% commission and all of that. And so, I apologize to any people who don't like hunters or whatever, but you eat what you kill, basically.
Right.
So, and not that I kill my sponsors.
We're vegetarians, by the way.
You are. Okay. I dabbled in it for sure.
Just kidding.
My 8-year-old is. So, but it was crazy because the world stopped. But what was great about my company was they realized how much of a struggle it would be. And so, they were already testing this opportunity to do presentations over the phone, because before that it was only strictly in person, face to face.
Absolutely.
And so they came out with that, they rolled it out, and then within a week's time, we were having video calls, and my CEO, who of this huge organization, ended up giving out his cell phone number and said, if you have any questions, give me a call. And they started incentivizing us and said, okay, here's what we're doing now. We're going to be doing it over the phone. And, we know that it's going to be we know that it's going to be a little awkward at first.
It'll be awkward at the beginning.
So what we're going to do is we're going to start paying you for, if you book an appointment, if you do an appointment, if they buy, here's some extra money we're just going to throw at your way just to kind of incentivize us.
Right.
And so my wife ended up telling me that she was shocked, because I am a very extroverted and social guy. And she was like, Tony, I feel like this pandemic is affecting me way more negatively than you. And I realized it, and I'm like, well, babe, that's, I think I know why. It's because I'm on the phone talking to people.
Right.
Not
every
necessarily,
day,
not, sure, selling things, but sometimes, even just talking to you over the phone or whatever. It's nice to have that human connection and commiseration about everything that was happening. And so it was good. Yeah. Then we got into digital and all of that. So, our company thrived. And, one last thing about the pandemic, one of my residents and amazing readers, Marge Myers, I'll do a little shout out from her. I'm trying to get her on the cover. So Marge, if you're listening, you have to go on.
Awesome.
She ended up starting this ritual where at 7:30 every night, she would go outside and ring bells to kind of cheer on and encourage, the first responders, the people who, were working in the hospitals,
Right.
the police, the people who couldn't work remotely,
Right.
but were keeping people safe and all that.
Everything.
And so she ended up doing that for 100 days.
Wow.
And we ended up, I tried pressuring her back then also to be on the cover, and she said I wouldn't, but she wouldn't. But then I was able to, write a story about her. It was on the back page of one of our magazines.
Right.
And another reader ended up messaging me and saying, Tony, I was so depressed. I felt all alone. And then I read the article about what Marge was doing, because it was, we called it 100 Days of Cheering and all that. And I realized, wait, I am not alone. And, there are other people. And, I'm not the only one who's struggling. Everyone's struggling. And for her, it gave her hope and courage. And so I ended up messaging Marge, and she's like, please give me the contact information. I need to talk to her and all that. Just because.
What a fantastic story.
And and so it definitely sounds trite to say that, my magazine and, saves lives, but, it potentially did with that one case. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think a big shout out to her. I mean, you know what? I think those things made a huge difference.
Yeah.
To get people through the pandemic. I totally agree. I mean, it was
Yeah.
a very, very, it was a scary time, right? I mean,
Yeah.
for everyone. And, to be able to cheer on, all the emergency workers and stuff
Yeah.
like that. In that way, I think publicly, I think that's fantastic.
Oh, it was
What a
really
great
good.
story.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing, people were going stir crazy, and with our magazines continuing to come on out, it was a great way for people to realize that there's other stuff happening, and kind of be connected when they weren't allowed to be physically. So
Excellent. So Tony, tell me a little bit about and I know you're a pretty active guy, publicly and
Yeah.
sort of speaking to people, and you're all about town and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your active life networking. Tell us about that.
Perhaps it's a little too much than my wife would perhaps appreciate or whatever. I have 4 kids. Now the older 2 are, gone half the time or whatever. And,
Nice.
Being teenagers. But I'm very involved with the Chamber of Commerce. Just really love that. I was joking with Melissa there that, I could potentially, do her job if, she ever needs a backup, welcoming people in, because I know the whole routine and all that. And then with networking, I talked to my friend Vanessa Stevenson from Homewood Suites, and I was like, hey, I've got this crazy idea. What if we were to do a networking event that's just, for Hespeler businesses and business owners who live in town, just to kind of create that community, kind of like, how you would have like a neighborhood barbecue or a family get together.
Right.
We'll just, like keep it just really small, And she was like, oh, that's a great idea. You can use my space. So what were you thinking? And I'm like, that's it. I don't have any ideas. But we're going to be in just 1 month from now, we're going to be hosting our 7th event. And last time we had 40 people out, and it's just a great opportunity for people just to connect with each other and say hi and, have that community grow closer. And something else I'm getting involved in now, we're starting a meetup that was spawned from the Eastbridge Connections, and we're going to start a Cambridge chapter. And so our first event is going to be at the local tap room just above 13 on the 14th from 7 to 9. And it's just going to be a great event for anyone from Cambridge just to come and rub shoulders, meet each other. It certainly is not replacing the Chamber of Commerce or any of these other things, but it just gives another opportunity for people just to meet each other.
Absolutely. I think it's a great idea.
Grow the community. So
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And this networking event is next month, May 14th, you said?
May 14th, yeah.
Okay, so look for that, folks.
Yeah, and then I would be remiss if I didn't say I'm also part of a BNI chapter as well.
Right.
And I've been doing that for the past 4.5 years, and it's been very fulfilling. And, a lot of the members in my chapter are some of my closest friends and are on speed dial. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so
great.
Yeah.
Maybe before we sort of wrap up, I want to maybe if we can dive into one of your magazines and talk a little bit about, show us some of the products that you have. Tony, is that possible?
Yeah.
We can take a second, maybe have a quick look at them.
Yeah, okay, sure. Okay, so how I'll do it, if you want, I can just hold it like this and just show you how everything goes. So,
if you want me to hold the mic.
Yeah, so I can hold it, Mike, if you can hold it. So, we've got various spots in our magazines, different sized ads that people can do. And as mentioned before, over here's our listing of our expert contributors. So, we've got, people who've been with us for a long time, and some of them are relatively new. Like
Excellent.
Ali, he's the guy who sold me these wonderful glasses. He's been doing it. He's been with me pretty much since the beginning, and Lisa's been around for even longer than that. Before my time. So, in our magazines, here's Jillian, whom I was speaking about before. She, sponsors the magazine every single month, and that's really good. And then we have her ad that changes. And so with all of our ads, we can take care of the ad design as well.
Great.
We've got a very robust calendar of events. And, this could be sponsored as well. We've got a kids corner. Here's an example of our expert contributor writing an article. So Lisa's writing about hearing aid myths versus facts. And then we have other sized ads that are, like a quarter page or an 1/8 page ad. Awesome. And then here's that basketball
local sports section.
Yeah, that basketball article that I was talking about. And so we've got different photographs there and another upcoming race. And so then, this is an example of like a 1/2 page ad.
Okay.
And then we've got a recipe section. So every single month, people know how to make something new, and so sometimes that's generated by like local residents. They'll submit it, and then people will submit pictures of their pets, and so that's always a great way, because it's like, oh, hey, I saw Rufus, in the magazine. That's awesome, because pet owners are, like, I don't have any pets myself, but I'm kind of jealous of them because they, are dedicated to going outside on a regular basis, and they tend to be very social. So
absolutely,
I miss out on that. But, and then, we have kind of our nosy neighbor section where basically we have, the house prices for sale in the neighborhood. And so it's kind of our second most popular spot in the magazine. And then I'll show you with another, and so, and then we also have like full page ads or the back cover. And sometimes we even have a 2-page center spread. And
excellent.
And then, we have all of our digital options as well. So it's pretty cool.
Right, yeah, lots of great local information, and
Thanks.
Really a great place for people to connect.
Yeah.
Residents on the whole, and of course businesses get to reach out and to
Yep.
be able to be visible. And let's face it, it's all about local today. It's more important to people to be able to connect in their local marketplace and to support their own local marketplace.
100%.
Helps everyone, right?
Yeah.
Good stuff. Tony, is there anything else you'd like to add to tell us about, that maybe anything new coming down the pipe, that something that might be interesting to hear about?
Well, we're always adding to our digital products. So there's stuff forthcoming with that. But what I would use this opportunity to say is, if anyone's interested in learning more, they can certainly reach out to me. But if also you're a resident in one of those neighborhoods, and for some reason, we try to get out to everyone, but the money's limited, and sometimes, if people have the no junk mail, because this is unsolicited, Canada Post is not allowed to deliver the magazine. So if people are interested in getting at least digital copies of the magazine, they can reach out to me, and I can send them a link.
Is there okay?
I'm not allowed to have it online. I'm not allowed to post it online.
Fair enough.
But if they message me, I can send them a link. So
okay.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, great. If that's all, Tony, I want to thank you so much for being here. It's great to have you here.
Yeah.
Folks, Tony Rossel, publisher of the magazine Neighbours of Hespeler. Please have a look at it. If it drops on your doorstep, it's a fantastic magazine, and let's do it. Let's talk local. Let's shop local. And Tony, again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much, Clint.
It's
been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.